That moment when you're watching a TV show and you make everybody wait while you pause it and maybe rewind and pause to just the right second where the sweater isn't blurry and you think, I want to make that one day. That's so good. Hi, I'm Michelle. This is my so-called handmade life. This has been a year of working through things. We've worked through old stash, old patterns, and we've even worked through some old behaviors for why we collect too much or obsess a bit much about things in crafting. While I'm purging my yarn closet slowly but surely, I wanted to purge my brain of some ideas for TV-inspired knits that have been pinging around in my head for years. I hope you'll join me. I plan to do it all fall and through the next year, sort of like I did stash busting the new year last year. I'll be doing this throughout the year. Now, what do I mean by a famous knit? I am talking about that moment when you're watching a TV show and you make everybody wait while you pause it and maybe rewind and pause to just the right second. You take a photo with your phone, then you upload it to a secret Pinterest board that's probably like the only Pinterest board you still use. And you've got it imprinted and you think, I want to make that one day. That's so good. I was doing that the other day. We were watching Search Party and several times I made my husband wait while I stopped and I took photos. I'm going to share this one scene with you. They're sitting in a booth in a cafe and there is a traditional cabled crew neck sweater. It's kind of handsome crisp, very perfect in a natural wool. There's a striped, fun, brightly colored sweater with what could be either Fair Isle or embroidery detailing at the neck, shoulders, and sleeves, whatever you choose. And then there's this over-the-top loop stitch poncho capelet thing, all in one scene. It's so good. This is what I think of as a famous knit. It's something that's so good, you want to stop everything, take a screenshot, and you want to recreate it in some way. My family has become very patient with my screen grab moments. So it may embody the ethos of the entire TV show, or it may just be that it's really cool and you like it and you want it. To recreate a famous knit off of a TV show, you've got to first have really good screenshot skills. Then you go and you look on Ravelry or peruse Reddit or something looking to see, has anyone else tried to recreate this and how did they do it? There's really no rules. You can use a pattern that's straight up made to replicate it completely, or you can totally change it. You can make it all your own. You might find other patterns that could kind of become that with some modification. And then you have to modify it for your own body type, or maybe for your own aesthetics. And sometimes you'll find there's nothing out there and you just have to build it from the ground up, which really inspires me. So everything on that spectrum, I want to try at some level this year with some of these that I have. I'm hoping that you'll join me as I do this. And when I say famous knits, it can be crochet too. I may even do a crochet one this year. Famous knits is just what I hear in my head because I'm primarily a knitter and that's mostly what I've collected over the years, but you be you. Please use the hashtag just so that I'll find you. A lot of us got started knitting for this very reason. We saw something that was a bit out of reach, maybe because it was in a movie, or maybe because it was in a catalog and it was just like me, it was just too expensive. And I was like, I want that thing. I want to know how to do that thing. I want to have the thing. This is a lot of what fueled my screenshots of TV knits. Last week I shared my Villanelle sweater. Now that was just straight up following a pattern that was inspired by the TV series. It doesn't look like anything exactly in the TV series. It was just inspired, but I thought she really captured the feel of Jodie Comer's character. I did only one modification for my body type. I used larger sleeves than body size. So I really just followed instructions for that one. It counts. Is that cheating? No, because Because remember, with famous knits, the rules are...
There ain't no rules.
Though I've been planning some of them for ages. This week I'm doing a super fast, I hope, easy one. I'm going to recreate the sweater that Wednesday Addams wears in the newest Wednesday TV series. It's the large checkerboard sweater that is knit. Does that surprise you that I would do a sweater from Wednesday? It surprised my husband. You should have seen his face. He was like, the show with the dance? Because I think we've been traumatized by how many times we've seen that dance all over the place. Yes, it is that one. Although, I'm going to be honest, and I might not gain any fans for this, I think Jenna Ortega is a good actress. She was so good in The Fallout, but I don't think I'm ever going to actually watch Wednesday. And let me just say, I watched The Addams Family as a kid. I can't get enough of Little Wednesday, Dancing with Lurch. I'm an Addams Family purist, maybe? And there's no rules, remember, for recreating a famous knit. I just saw the sweater, like in commercials, and I was like, this is awesome. Think bulky vest, has a lot of positive ease, fun contrast colors. I mean, everything about that says fun. You don't have to love the show to love the knit. I went looking online for versions of this sweater that different people may have tried to recreate. I found Aiko Shun shows her thought process and kind of in story-like form. She did an entire video of several knits from that movie. And I love that she's using very affordable yarn. I feel like it's super approachable to anyone. She was recreating first the checkerboard small checks vest that is crocheted. Then she did the knitted one along with some other things. She's mostly talking about her thought process and you watch her progress. It's not exactly a tutorial, but she has quite a bit of interesting TV-inspired or movie-inspired recreations. And she's tackled some that I have never seen anyone try, like Hal's coat from Howl's Moving Castle. I thought that was really interesting. So her channel is worth looking up. Amazing-ish Grace on both Instagram and YouTube. She recreated the crochet checked vest, and also on her Etsy sells a pattern for it, which I'm showing you the photo from her Etsy shop. But she has the free tutorial of how to do it on her YouTube channel. Robin of Knotting Hook Crochet has also put a tutorial of how to make this crocheted vest on her YouTube channel for free, and she goes into great detail. You could totally recreate it. One more crochet version, Michelle Jessic has her version of the crocheted checkered vest, and it's a fun watch. Her YouTube channel and her Instagram, she has lots of great crochet makes that you'll probably find inspiring. And as I'm still looking for the knit version of this vest, I see that a lot of crocheters have taken the knit version in the movie and they've just made a crochet version of that with large check squares, which I thought was pretty interesting. Chelsea Wybrow has one that is actually made of granny squares. So she's using the trend of granny squares that is just never going out of style. We love it. I thought that added a neat extra geometry to the sweater. So I finally found Wyam's Crafts. This is on Ravelry. It's a knitted vest like the one that I liked in the movie, or the parts of the movie that I've seen. And I feel like it's very accurate. It looks very much like the vest that Wednesday wears in the movie. However, I am going to go with one of the least accurate knitted versions. It's the We Are Knitters Feels Like Wednesday. And I'll tell you why. Remember, there's no rules here. Whereas Wyam's Crafts has the, black on one side, white on the other of the neckline. I like a solid neckline. I also want a little more of an open neckline if I can make that happen. I want plenty of positive ease, but I'm not sure how long I want it to be. And I would like the bottom band to be the same color as the neckline. So I'm going to go with the We Are Knitters version, which is also free. And so you have bulky yarn, free, contrasting colors, quick knit. It's perfect. As fun as the black and white is, I have 1 or 2 sweaters that are black and white planned for the coming year. So I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to use yarn that I have. So I am using Cascade Eco Plus in a pine color and silver. And this will be my main color. That will be the neckline and the ribbing at the bottom. This will be the contrast. And I always love a good green. I feel like these will work really well. And this just took 3 skeins of Eco Plus. You know they're mega skeins, but when Webb's puts them on sale, this is a bargain. So I have 2 skeins of the green and 1 of the pine, and that is enough to make all of the sizes, whichever one I would want to do in We Are Knitters. I'm going to do a size large, but I might end up going back and doing an extra large because I do want ease. And a lot of the time, these sweaters are modeled with more ease than you might think the model would need. And you don't realize that, oh, that model is wearing the extra large. That's why it has such an easy fit. I want an easy fit. I do not want a fitted vest. I first cast on for an extra large, and then I held out my ribbing. This is all I've done so far. And I'm not even finished with, this is the back, the ribbing at the bottom. I held it out and I was like, sheesh, I think I'm gonna go with large and we'll see what happens. As far as length, I'm just gonna check it as I go. What I'm hoping to get out of doing a large is about 6 inches of positive ease. I may end up wanting more, we'll see. You know, sometimes when my tension is regular, and I choose my size correctly, and the yarn blooms as expected, and the planets all align, I actually get a sweater that fits the right way. So that's my famous knit right now. I asked you guys to be thinking about some, and that is my question for you in this episode. Some famous knits from, I'm thinking primarily movies and TV, that's what I think, but it might be from a book. Some that inspire you, and or the types of series that inspire you. And a few of you have already responded to me about that, and I wanted to share that Hannah has started the giant Rory Gilmore sweater, and I'm actually going to talk about the Gilmore Girls and some of the knitwear it's inspired me to want to make in the coming year in the next episode. So share that because it will be episode fodder. First of all, thank everyone who joined that knit along. The Simply Irresistible Sock Cow. Christy and I had fun doing it, and a lot of you swooped in at the last minute and started finishing socks right and left. And you really did encourage me to keep going with it, to not just stop at 1 pair. So I do have the pair I've shown a million times, but I now have my finished, worsted pair. This is Simply Irresistible Socks worsted. I have my hair and dog hair stuck in it. And I did a size medium for both of these. I feel like I probably could have gotten away with a small, but the medium fits great. It's really cushy. I think it's fine. And I actually think I could take this same size and completely recreate this for my daughter, and then do another one and maybe make it a little longer for her husband. What I used for this was a skein of Wool of the Andes. I used a Wool of the Andes superwash. I had the tiniest bit left over, but you know what? I think it would give me about another 1/2 inch of sock. So literally that's 2 people. That would be 4 balls of Wool of the Andes and 2 stocking stuffer or Christmas gifts. I will now be casting on with my Passion Knits. This is a very October looking color for me. This is Passion Knits Nouveau Riche, and I will be casting on one of probably the fingering weight version of this, because I feel like the very even texture will look really good. This might kind of micro stripe a bit, and I'm just not quite sure what I think will look best with it, so I probably won't do anything cabled. For the knit along, I've already announced the winners on Instagram, but if you're not on Instagram, I will tell you here, and they've already been contacted. But I wanted to talk about the gifts, the prizes again, because I got a last minute extra prize that was so sweet. Katinka actually won. Katinka is the seamstress at the cottage, or Katinka Ponders, depending on where you're looking her up at. She won these 3 skeins that are enough to make any one of Christy's accessory patterns. You know, you could just do socks and then use this for something else, or you could make any one of her shawls with these. And so she won that. Hannah won this Wool and Vine Yarns Enjoy the Silence Blitzed base, which is very special. I think this is a really fun, special skein of yarn. I would call it vintage Wool and Vine, and any sock pattern from Christy. And then last minute, Katinka sent in a gift just for the sweetness of it. It's a project bag to add to the giveaway. So I threw in some yarn, some Lorna's laces, and I think this is a special skein too, because it was based on the Viking series, and it's Ragnar's Revenge. And you can see these are, I believe that this might be, yeah, Ragnar's Revenge. It's not the colors of his Viking shield. I think it looks more like Logatha's, but I thought this was such a great color, and I've been saving it for a long time, and I'm really happy to stuff it into this bag that was made by one of our, you know, fellow community members. And Katinka's, her labels are Akhenatok, but it's basically Katinka spelled backwards. It's really cute. So and Katie pointed out all of these coordinate very well. That's accidental, but this was a major dig through the yarn closet to find some good sock yarn, some things that I thought, because I want to use stuff I have, right? I wanted to find some that I think really are special. I didn't want to just give, you know, some bargain thing. I wanted it to be something special. So congrats to all of you. And then Christy still has some winners to announce. She may have announced them by the time this comes out, but she's actually making some of her giveaway gifts, and she's in the process of that right now. So they're going to be extra special and meaningful too. All right, so I'm going to do a standalone video for these socks, I think, just for the people who don't like long rambles and would really benefit from knowing about a quick Christmas knit like this. And that'll probably come out this week also. This was so easygoing. This was fun to work on while watching things. And when I use a marker at the beginning and end of this stitch pattern, I don't even have to look. I mean, I could watch a show. We went to a new coffee place, had a conversation while knitting. I was fine. I was talking to you guys about mindless and old-fashioned things you do, and this right here really puts me in touch with, I don't know, just old-fashioned, hand-making, mindless relaxation. And I asked you guys, what are some old-fashioned things you do to kind of slow life down, to stop hurrying so much? Katinka obviously likes to sew, but she will often sew like she will recycle things. She will take something, sheets, and make a beautiful dress or something. There's always some creative, very clever method to it. She also knits and spins, but making, like all of us, that is where she gets that slowed down, old-fashioned relaxation. Pam likes to sit on her porch and watch the birds, which makes me think of my grandfather. He always knew what every bird was. And even when he would come to visit me, he would sit on my porch, different area of Texas. He would smoke his pipe. He would tell me what all the birds and all the trees in my yard were. She likes to make gifts for people like her grandchildren, and she will, of course, enjoy going to see ball games with them playing. Pam also likes to read books, cook, and reuse things when possible. Make do. Hannah likes to vacuum and iron and says that simple housekeeping chores like that really bring a meditative calm to her. I get that feeling washing dishes, not when it's a huge stack that everybody has left, but in the evening after I've cooked supper. I get a real feeling of satisfaction of putting my kitchen to bed, like having everything out of the sink and into the dishwasher. The dishwasher's running, the counters are wiped, the table's wiped, and I can like just turn the lights out, and I know when I wake up in the morning, it'll be nice and fresh and clean. I don't know, that gives me a lot of, I don't know, it's a little ritual. Anna likes to do slow homemaking too. She especially likes ironing and laundry. In fact, she bought linen sheets and she irons her sheets. I mean, Anna, linen sheets, that is when you have an excuse for your sheets to be super wrinkled and crinkled. I would totally make use of that, but she likes to iron them. In fact, she has made doing her laundry like a moment by pulling out an old tub from the laundry room, putting in new plumbing, a new sink, a little folding station, lights. None of this was super, like a super remodel. It was all small touches, but painting it has just made it a moment. It's like a soothing ritual rather than a chore. I'm inspired by that. Our laundry area is in our garage, and the whole place is just a mess. I can see it though. Within the next year, I can see that changing and it becoming a clean, bright place to work out and wash clothes. Sarah also loves to do laundry and iron, and will even go to her in-laws' house and do ironing there, which cracks me up. She also likes to make bread from scratch, like all that kneading, very meditative, growing plants from seeds, walking and quilting. Jean gardens and cooks. She says they live on one income, so they need to live simply, but she actually just likes living simply. She likes the peace that she feels without having too much going on, too much stress, too much stuff. And she also read John Mark Comer's book and loved it. She Bear knits. That is the old-fashioned thing that she does to relax, but finds that she's struggling to keep it stress-free with all that pressure to buy or to hurry, to kind of FOMO, keep up with trends, finish things really quick. And I'm wondering, when did all this start? Is it the knit-alongs? Is it like sales techniques? Is it the algorithm's fault? Or is it a shift that happened like around 2017, I feel like? Instagram for the knitting community went from being just a big worldwide show and tell to being more commerce. And, you know, I love so many of those businesses, but I do miss the mostly show and tell aspect of it. We have to hold on to making just for the sake of making, and especially making together, because that's what the internet gave us. Making together for the sake of making together. That's why I'm telling you, use this hashtag famous knits. You're not buying anything from me. You're not gonna win anything from me. It's just for the fun of making together. And we're all gonna make something that looks like something probably in the next year. Katie is into hiking, sewing, knitting, of course, crochet, plant tending, and also music. And a new thing that she's been doing that's old-fashioned but bringing a great deal of peace is keeping an old-fashioned journal. And I mention that because it segues perfectly into what I was asking you all about happiness. After the last several stressful years that we've all had, where's your happiness at? said she started with a bullet style daily planner, but then she would start jotting down how she was feeling about the day, and it evolved into a true journal with sometimes pictures added, and eventually she'd like to add sketches. And it kind of helps her to process things, what's happening, before it passes, when we just roll forward into the next day. That little bit of considering and processing could be the place where we find joy. And in her case, peace. Like, a lot of things had destabilized. Like, there were some health things and physical things that required financial hits. And with uncertainties, it's easy for us to spin out worrying. And keeping a journal, keeping present, like, here's the real stuff happening, it keeps us from borrowing trouble from a possible future that might happen, and just focus on what is real, what's a real concern, and then everything else is just brain clutter we can get rid of. It also, I imagine, Katie, helps you see the good things that have happened each day. If we do not pay attention to the good things, we're not going to remember them because it's not in our nature. We tend to remember bad things and be traumatized. That's kind of how kids are. When your kids are little, and you may remember being little, it doesn't matter how many wonderful things you say to them, how many loving acts. When you tell them no, when you discipline them, they remember it, with horror. I remember that time, We are like that in our lives. We really hold on to the bad, the traumatic, and we let all these wonderful things just slip through our fingers and forget about them. She can see that happiness that's right there. She's attaining it by just looking for it, finding things to be happy about, peaceful about, removing unnecessary worries. That process in itself produces a sort of happiness. Sarah has also been recovering from a big loss, and wasn't fully happy, isn't going to pretend that she was, and is finding her way back to happiness, and has found that doom scrolling is not good for that. She has to watch that. Jess is happier now than in previous years, but says it did take some effort to get there. Something happened that changed her. It changed life forever, and she just had to get to a point where she realized that change is okay. That's inevitable. It happens, and she can still be happy. And she used an example from knitting. Stranded knitting, two-handed, was something she just could not get when she was trying to get it. Years later, she's doing a mosaic project, and without thinking, she starts doing stranded knitting. She starts doing both colors at once and realizes, oh my gosh, I'm doing that thing, the stranded knitting thing, and I wasn't even trying, and it just happened like a light bulb. And I guess the example for us is that we can finally get that happiness. Something might be standing in the way, something that's happened, how we're processing it or failing to process it, but it'll come. It can happen, which was encouraging. Katinka has been through a hard few years, business-wise. If you follow her channel, The Seamstress at the Cottage, you know some about that. There's just been a lot of hard decisions to make, and moving is tough. And then there was all the rest of the things that the rest of the world was going through. And it wasn't easy, but she has found a deeper happiness coming through those times and made some decisions. She's just going to have to break away from what she thought life would look like and do something different. And just making the decision, it seems to have really freed you. Katinka, you seem really happy about that decision. Adina also said the pandemic was the best worst thing that ever happened to her. She is much happier because of it. Now, there are still some really stressful things in her life, their personal obligations, but it sounds like, Adina, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's a temporary thing. It's not always going to be that way. And I look forward for you to those things being able to come into line with the peace that you have inside now, life can calm down some. Hannah feels pretty happy and mostly has been a happy person throughout her life. She tries, though, to stay in the moment, not think too far ahead, and that's the key for her to maintaining happiness. Susan is happier now than as a kid. Her dad passed away when she was young, and she realized that you have to make the most of your life. You don't know how long you have. And that, along with stories about the Great Depression, kind of produced a desire to be frugal in her and a desire to, while living simply, live as fully as possible. And she mentioned that she lost her job, I believe it was during the pandemic, and wasn't really expecting that to happen. So retirement doesn't look like she thought it would, but it's still wonderful. Now that she is retired, she has time to do things like yoga, hiking, reading, knitting, making, music, and kind of keeps her day full of those things. She has a plan, though, to keep a balance. But I was just thinking, Susan, about how so many times we say, well, I can't do that right now. I can't afford to learn this. I can't afford to do this. I can't afford to be this. Or when my kids are older, I'll have time to do this, see this, be. Or if I weren't married, or if I didn't have children. We have all these reasons, but I firmly believe that every type of experience, there's some level that we can attain wherever we are, whatever our budget, whatever our season of life or family responsibilities. There's some aspect of it that we can have. And I feel like you have that, Susan. You have mastered that. Chris has realized that a lot of her struggles in life weren't all her, that it had to do with other family members' issues, and getting some distance from the fact that it's not all her responsibility, it's not all her fault. She says that this year she feels such a relief, like the weight of shame is lifted by seeing what is fair to consider her responsibility and what isn't. And I'm so glad for you, Chris, that you're feeling that weight, that responsibility for everyone lift off of your shoulders. I forgot what birthday. You said you just had a birthday, and it was like 71, I believe. 71, and realizing, oh, that wasn't all me. It's not funny, but it is, because this is what we do. Just like me with this epiphany I had about thinking I had forgiven some people when I really hadn't fully. I'm almost 50. How do I not know how to fully forgive yet? But isn't it wonderful when you get it? I hope that you're feeling relief, Chris. I hope this is a really wonderful year for you. Kaylin's story may be common, but I don't hear this very often. I see a lot of defeated people, anxious people around me. So when I heard Kaylin say that she knew some things were kind of out of balance in her life, and so with the support of her family, she made a job, like a position change at her job, that would be less stressful, but also reduce their income greatly. So this is a big sacrifice that she's making, the whole family's making, and we have a very career-oriented world that we live in. That's hard to do. But with that lack of stress, she was able to really work on relationships, work on herself. Her family has so much more peace, better connected relationships. They've really got each other's back. They're all so much happier. And that is the best story for me. I love thinking that you took a pay cut, that you made huge changes, and you didn't do it for career gains or branding or, some outrageous goal. You just did it so that y'all could be sweeter together. Life could be a little sweeter, a little more peaceful. And it's worked. I love that. That really encouraged me to hear, Kaylin. All of your thoughts on the slow, meditative things you do and your happiness. It made me think of this quote I heard recently. It's by Tim Keller, who passed away last year, I think. But I've never heard him say anything that I didn't love. He said, people who meditate become people of substance, who have thought things out and have deep convictions, who can explain difficult concepts in simple language and have good reasons behind everything they do. People who don't meditate, however, they skim everything. They pick and choose on impulse, and they have no thought out reasons for their behavior. They follow whims and live shallow lives. I want to live a deeper life. I want to meditate. I want to really consider my life as it is now, all the good of it and all the bad, what I need to fix, what I can't fix, you know? So a big part of that for me has been a focus on love. Loving better. What does love really look like? What kind of love do I want from others? And how can I return that? That has been really on my mind lately. I think I'm going to have to do a little more growing up in the coming year. Wanted to share one more thought Anna had. She shared that with social media, fast-paced lives, side hustles, all the stuff we have going on in the economy of today, just to remember that being rushed, pressured, and hurried was a problem even back in Socrates' time when he said, "Beware the barrenness of a busy life." And anyway, thank you all for sharing some of your little remedies for hurry in the moment and some of these larger outlooks on life that you have. Okay, so let me know some inspiration for TV or famous knits that you have been wanting to make. You might dig through, find some images, share them on Instagram under that hashtag, famous knits. And I'll be following it. And I'm going to talk next week about the Gilmore Girls, and I'm going to mention the sweater that Hannah's working on. And Hannah, if you make any progress, put it on Instagram. I would love to look at it and see what you're doing. I'm sure everyone would.